Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from around the country. The Knights of Columbus 135th Annual Supreme Convention this past week in St. Louis. Supreme Knight Carl Anderson announced that the Knights were pledging to raise $2 million to assist Christian families in returning to their homes on the Nineveh Plain in Iraq. The Christian families were driven from their homes by the Islamic State in 2014. The area was liberated in 2016. The cost of resettling one family is around $2,000. The amount the Knights are encouraging councils, parishes, and individuals to donate. The Knights have actively sought to provide humanitarian aid to Christians in Iraq as well as Syria and the surrounding areas, donating over $13 million. The Knights also will join the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops for a week of awareness for persecuted Christians, which will begin November 26th with a day of prayer. More news on Iraq and Christian refugees in another area of Iraq. Iraq forces, after many months of fighting and thousands of lives lost, have recently reclaimed the northern Iraq city of Mosul from the ISIS militants who had held it for 3 years. According to a priest from the city, this does not mean the Christians who were forced from their homes will return soon to the city. Rome Reports spoke with a priest who named a number of issues that will prevent Christians from returning for now.
There is a miracle in the midst of Mosul's destruction, the Church of St. Thomas, dating back to the 7th century. It's still standing despite enduring the brutal battles by the Iraqi army in the takeover of the city. With Mosul now liberated, the big question is whether Christians will be able to return to the places that they had to leave hastily on the night of June 9, 2014.
At this time, neither Orthodox Christians nor Chaldean Christians can return to Mosul. First, because the return trip is not safe. Second, because our families have lost confidence in Muslims, the other residents of the city. Third, because there is still no basic electricity or water services to be able to live there.
Father Al-Sabag was forced to leave Erbil in Iraqi Kurdistan along with thousands of other Christians. These Christians do not intend to return for now, at least until they're guaranteed a greater sense of security. However, they've witnessed that some Muslim neighbors are showing signs of goodwill toward them.
We have seen some groups of young Muslims go inside the churches to clean them. The Iraqi army also made a cross and raised it over one of the monasteries and put an announcement inside welcoming Christian brothers. However, it is not enough to justify what has happened.
For many former residents, it was their own Muslim neighbors who directed ISIS to their homes. That's why even if they could return, they feel that forming a relationship and mending this sense of betrayal will take years.
Christians think that if others reject us, how are we going to live with them or reshare the same land? What we have seen was very hard, but thank God our families understood it and left everything to save their faith. The church has been able to carry out its mission over these last 3 years with joy and love.
This parish priest from Erbil asked Western Christians not to forget their brothers in Mosul, where for the first time in centuries, there has been no Christian presence for 3 years. He insists that they must not be forgotten because though financial aid is important, the most important thing is to feel the solidarity and closeness from other Christians around the world.
More news now from around the country. Detroit Archbishop Allen Vigneron presided over the private exhumation service of soon-to-be-beatified Capuchin priest Father Solanus Casey. The service was limited to a handful of individuals, including 3 medical professionals who were on hand to examine the remains and report on the condition of the body. The purpose of the exhumation is part of the canonical process to both officially identify the body and to collect relics that will be used to venerate Father Casey after he's beatified November 18th. Father Casey worked for 2 decades in the Harlem section of New York City. In 1924, he was transferred back to Detroit, where he joined the Capuchin order and began working as the porter of St. Bonaventure Monastery. He also helped establish the Capuchin Soup Kitchen in 1929 to feed the hungry during the Great Depression, a work that continues in Detroit today. He was declared venerable in 1995. Father Solanus' beatification mass is set to be celebrated in Ford Field. The stadium in downtown Detroit will be configured to accommodate 60,000 people for the ceremony. And finally, in the news, after the Pope's general audience this past week, acclaimed Italian tenor Andrea Bocelli and a choir of 60 children from the poorest areas of Haiti sang 3 songs, including Amazing Grace and Ave Maria. The choir, made up of youth ages 9 through 15, is called Voices of Haiti, and they are on a nearly 2-week-long European tour. After the concert, the Pope met with Bocelli and the children, and Rome Reports has more from the Paul VI Audience Hall.
At the end of the general audience, the Pope asked himself this question. It was nothing less than Andrea Bocelli in Paul VI Audience Hall, accompanied by a very special group. The singer was very excited when he greeted Pope Francis. The singer visited Pope Francis along with a group of Haitian children. The Andrea Bocelli Foundation participates in Voices of Haiti, a project so Haitian children with musical talent can learn to develop it. The initiative aims to give the most disadvantaged children an opportunity, either through schooling or by guaranteeing them adequate food.
And that is all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.